For as long as humans have existed, we have lifted our eyes to the skies with wonder. The stars, the moon, the endless blackness above, they seem so far away, unreachable, like a different world entirely. Myths told us of gods living in the heavens. Philosophers dreamed of journeys beyond Earth, but the reality was simple. We were bound to the ground. Even the idea of flying like birds felt impossible until the Wright brothers made it a reality in 1903. Yet even after flight was conquered, space seemed far beyond our grasp. Still, a question echoed in human imagination. Could we ever leave Earth? In the late 1800s, a Russian schoolteacher named Konstantin Tsiolkovsky began to suggest that maybe we could. He wasn't building rockets himself, but his mind was centuries ahead. He calculated the mathematics of how a rocket could break free of Earth's gravity, and he imagined metal ships traveling beyond our planet. One of his most famous lines was, "The Earth is the cradle of humanity, but one cannot live in the cradle forever." It was poetry, but also prophecy. Humanity would one day climb out of its cradle. Then history took a darker turn. World War II devastated nations, but it also accelerated technology. Out of destruction came the V-2 rocket, the first human-made object to touch the edge of space. Designed by German engineer Wernher von Braun, it was built as a weapon. Yet it revealed a shocking truth. With enough power, machines could reach beyond Earth's atmosphere. If a machine could go, perhaps one day a person could too. After the war, von Braun and many of his engineers were taken to the United States, while the Soviet Union gathered its own scientists. The stage was set for a new kind of competition. Not just war on Earth, but a race to the stars. This was the beginning of the space race. In 1957, the Soviet Union stunned the world with Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit Earth. It was nothing more than a small beeping sphere, but it proved something groundbreaking. Space had been breached. The Soviets followed it with more satellites, and even sent a dog named Laika into orbit, the first living creature to circle Earth. Laika never returned alive, but her mission showed that life could survive, at least for a while, in the vacuum of space. The United States rushed to catch up, forming NASA and launching their own rockets. But the Soviets kept pushing forward, and in 1961, they prepared for their boldest attempt yet, sending a human into space. The man chosen was Yuri Gagarin. Unlike what you might imagine, Gagarin wasn't a general or a famous scientist. He was the son of a carpenter, born in a small village in Russia. Humble, hardworking, and calm under pressure, he embodied the spirit of an ordinary man doing something extraordinary. Out of more than 200 candidates, he stood out for his courage, quick thinking, and warm personality. He was the perfect face for such a daring mission. But make no mistake, the mission was dangerous beyond words. Engineers didn't fully know what would happen to the human body in space. Would his organs shut down? Would his mind collapse under weightlessness? Even re-entry posed almost certain death if a single calculation was wrong. Gagarin knew the risks, but he agreed anyway. On April 12, 1961, before dawn, Yuri Gagarin climbed into a capsule called Vostok 1. It was so small that he could barely move inside. Outside, thousands of engineers and military officers watched as the rocket was fueled. There was silence, then countdown, and then a deafening roar as fire and smoke swallowed the launch pad. The rocket lifted into the sky, and as it did, Gagarin spoke one word that captured the spirit of the moment. Poyakali! Let's go! The world held its breath. As the rocket escaped Earth's grip, Gagarin became weightless. His body floated in the capsule, and for the first time in human history, a person looked down at the Earth from orbit. He described what he saw: a blue planet, beautiful and fragile, surrounded by the blackness of space. No borders, no nations, just one Earth. He spent 108 minutes in orbit, circling the planet once before re-entering the atmosphere. The heat shield burned red hot, alarms blared, and the capsule shook violently. For a moment it seemed he might not make it back, but against all odds the parachute opened, and Yuri Gagarin landed safely back on Earth. He was no longer just a pilot. He was the first human to go to space. The world erupted in celebration. Gagarin was hailed as a hero, not just in the Soviet Union, but across the globe. He had done what humanity had dreamed of for centuries. He had proven it could be done. Of course, his journey was just the beginning. The Americans responded with their Mercury program, and soon after, the Apollo missions that carried humans to the moon. But none of that would have been possible without Gagarin's leap into the unknown. The story of the first human in space is not just about rockets, politics, or science. It is about courage. It is about a man willing to risk everything for a dream bigger than himself. And it is about humanity's unending desire to explore, to push beyond the boundaries of what we know. When Yuri Gagarin looked out of his window and saw Earth as one planet, floating in darkness, he changed the way we see ourselves forever. And that is the story of how humanity first went to space, a journey born from dreams, built through struggle, fueled by courage, and written into history by one man's orbit around Earth. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like and subscribe to Historia Hub 360, where history comes alive and the past lights the path to our future.